Star Wars Outlaws was the first open-world Star Wars game, and it flew in hot when it first released. And yet, despite all of the negative criticism of Star Wars Outlaws, there's still an awesome game here. Something that deserves reconsidering all this time later. You're here defending charges laid against you for ice sculptures because it's hilarious.
No, not anymore.
When these proceedings are adjourned, this court will finally be able to answer the question, is Star Wars Outlaws actually that bad? Hold on to your lightsaber, Your Honor. We're off to the stars, and then you're going to jail. The year is 2023. After the underwhelming performance of Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, Ubisoft Massive decides to take another swing at blockbuster movie franchises by releasing Star Wars Outlaws. The Empire is displeased. As much as back-to-back movie tie-in games seem like a deeply misguided decision, Ubisoft Massive absolutely deserves their flowers for delivering on not one, but two excellent movie franchise video games. The Avatar game slaps, and Star Wars Outlaws is way better than the internet says it is. But what exactly did everyone dislike so much about Outlaws, and were they even right about it? I present to the court the first major issue with Star Wars Outlaws: cutscene quality and facial animation issues. We actually have a murder case starting here in 5 minutes. Star Wars Outlaws is, after all, a story-driven game. Oh great, you're just going ahead. So if all the characters look like Cabbage Patch Kids, we've got a problem. And yes, you know what? The cutscenes can look a little Cabbage Patchy at times. Hair animations can get a little bit wonky in particular, and Kay sometimes just looks like a Wish version of herself. It's all a little bit jarring, but ultimately it was never that immersion breaking for me. Still, this is a civilized and respectful court of public opinion, so I have to be as fair and unbiased as I can. The facial animations and cutscene quality are a bit spotty in this game, but I do request that the jury consider this in context when deliberating. You need a jury to deliberate. How did you all get in here?
Public transit, sir!
Next up, we have an allegation as old as the galaxy itself. Ubisoft, you're trash. How is that a criminal charge? The Ubisoft formula has been roasted for a long time now, with a lot of gamers claiming that the formula feels old and outdated, and they're mean and greedy, and they smell. I can't argue that there isn't a familiar formula that Ubisoft loves to use in all their games. However, I will challenge the core complaint. Ubisoft games aren't trash. You're just tired of the formula, or maybe you just didn't like it in the first place. And that's okay. This court protects the rights of our great gamer republic. Now, you don't have to like Ubisoft or their games, but I still think they're really fun formulas that work for as long as they remain interesting to you. How long they remain interesting will come down to each individual gamer. In Outlaw's case, it's only about a 20-hour main story, so you could easily get through this and not feel burnt out. So then, is Outlaws guilty of Ubisoft you're trash? If you aren't already a fan of Ubisoft open world style games, map markers, interesting but streamlined open world systems, fun but repetitive gameplay loops, Outlaws isn't going to do a whole lot to change your mind. However, Ubisoft did take some interesting swings with this game to differentiate it from other Ubisoft games, which we'll get to in just a second. In the matter of the charge of Ubisoft you're trash, I ask the jury respectfully to consider whether their opinions are subjective or objective before deciding on their opinion on this matter. If you think Ubisoft sucks, then you've already decided, and Outlaws won't do anything to change your mind. But if you love the formula, haven't played a Ubi open world in a while, or are just looking for a game that has that Ubi formula with a nice little twist on it, I think you're gonna have a ton of fun with this game. Bugs. Not those bugs. Bugs! Performance issues are the proverbial meatballs that go along with the AAA game spaghetti. They are unfortunately almost always there. PS5 save corruptions, a glitch with terrain issues where you'd hit stuff that wasn't really there and you go hilariously flying off of your speeder to your death, or the infamous Nyx bug that made him unresponsive, which just made him not work at all. That one was super fun. But the PS5 save corruption was probably the worst of the bunch. The biggest meatball, if you will. And while I can't forgive any of this, I can say that the current Outlaws experience is smooth and much improved since launch. It's gonna be really hard to argue against this one, Your Honor. In a lot of ways, Outlaws is like Uncharted in space. The biggest similarity is the platforming and movement. You climb suspiciously consistent looking rock walls, swing across a bevy of conveniently placed grappling points, and crouch during shootouts behind a bunch of debris and litter. I don't know, guys. I'm just saying, maybe if we cleaned up a little bit, we could shoot her easier. Guys? But there are some responsiveness challenges in the world. Like when you're mantling a ledge, you have to press the A button to actually get up it. Or getting stuck on terrain like I mentioned earlier. Again, hard to argue against this one, Your Honor. But it has improved a lot since launch, especially the terrain thing. I think this is going well. What about monetization? You know, the cash shop and microtransactions? Yep. They're here, loud and proud. Well, actually, not loud at all. I don't think I stumbled upon the cash shop once in my entire playthrough. As a general comment on Ubisoft games, I'm actually pretty good at just ignoring the cash shop, or at the very least, just kind of pretending it's not there. Like that patch of hair on my back that looks like Chewbacca's.
Objection.
Monetization is definitely there in Star Wars Outlaws, but it's easily ignorable and it's not a hindrance to any gamer's game time. But it is there, so take that for what you will, jury of the people. And finally, the ultimate charge leveled against Star Wars Outlaws. Questionable design choices in the first degree. I feel like you gotta be more specific with criminal charges. For some reason, Ubisoft decided to add some questionable design choices that don't make a whole lot of a heck of sense. Firstly, several auto-fail stealth sections in a game universe where shooting your way out of trouble is in every movie. I do understand what they were going for with gameplay design here, especially because you're a thief up against the might of the Empire, but it ultimately just feels kind of bad when you know you could handle fighting your way out of the situation, but you just can't. Having said that, you could use Nix to steal officer comms from some of the officers in the level, and that would disable the alarms and let you go guns blazing. Also, you weren't able to shoot from your speeder except under very specific full adrenaline meter circumstances. This was very clearly a massive oversight, and one that I'll come back to in just a second. And finally, when the game first launched, every time you picked up a weapon in the world, Kay insisted on dropping it like a sick dubstep beat at every turn. Whether you were climbing or mantling stuff or just doing most other actions in the game, you couldn't hold on to weapons anywhere, which made it feel super pointless to pick them up in the first place. So yeah, just questionable choices all around. And while it might sound like I'm dogging on the game, I actually have some good news. All of these issues have been fixed in updates since the game's launch. There are close to 0 auto-fail stealth sections left in the game, you can now fire freely from your speeder, and you can keep most weapons you pick up for a lot longer than you could before. It feels like a super different game now, and it gives you so much more flexibility to play the way you want. But again, we are a fair and just court of public opinion. Seriously, these sucked as a starting point for the game, but if you're thinking about playing the game now, these issues are almost non-existent.
Hear, hear. Order, order in the court.
In the case of Outlaws versus the court of public opinion, we find the defendant. Oh, for the love of... You might as well just do it. I love you. We find the defendant guilty on...
No.
Not yet. You haven't even heard my defense. What the f*** have we been doing here for the last 15 minutes?
Greasing your wheels.
Star Wars Outlaws rocks for a whole bunch of other reasons. So now that we've got all the issues out of the way, let's talk about what makes it so great. It would be simple enough to call Star Wars Outlaws just Far Cry in space and be done with it, but that would be missing out on some important details. As is the case with most things in life, two things can be true at once. Like how you can pick your nose and pick your friends, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
Sorry, that's my bad.
Yes, Star Wars Outlaws is a familiar game if you've played things like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed. But Ubisoft Massive took some big swings with this game that make it its own flavor of the Ubisoft formula. Let's start with the faction system. The golden goose of the game, as it were. Ubisoft Massive promoted this as a big system in the game, and yeah, it sure is. For each faction in the game, you have a reputation meter that ranges from Michael Corleone at the end of Godfather Part 1, all the way to Joe Pesci at the end of Goodfellas. All of the actions you take in the game affect this meter and change the way factions treat you. To be honest, this isn't as groundbreaking as it sounded in the lead up to the game, but it's still a really solid system, and it does actually change the way you experience some of the missions in the game. So let's say you're on the outs with the Hutt cartel and you need to get onto their turf for a mission. You're gonna find it a lot harder to get where you need to go with all those dudes trying to kill you. Just gonna mosey on by here. But if you want, you can spend some time doing contracts for the Hutt cartel, improving your relationship, and then they'll let you just waltz right in. I'm on the list. There are also key moments in the main quest that give you an opportunity to make a choice that gives a huge bonus to reputation with one faction, but it usually comes at the expense of a different opposing faction's reputation. It's a cool way to add narrative weight to your choices in the world, making it feel like there's some impact, but at the end of the day, you're only ever a few contracts away from improving your relationship with any of the factions. There are no permanent choices you can make with the factions in the game, which I appreciate for flexibility, but it does take a little bit of oomph out of the system. But no matter how much a faction loves you, there are still gated off areas that are permanently restricted to you. But getting to those areas can be easier or harder depending on your relationship with each faction. Overall, I give this system a thumbs up. But what about when you're tired of all the violence? Ever since The Witcher 3, no open world game has been complete without a frivolous side activity that sends you collecting things all across the map and pummeling AI opponents like Will Smith in iRobot. Sabacc is actually a ton of fun and a great diversion from the solid but relatively repetitive core gameplay loop of Star Wars Outlaws. Like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Red Dead Redemption 2, or The Witcher 3, there's a cozy quality to settling into the darkest corners of the galaxy and putting your last dollar on the weirdest game of poker ever. Shift? Do I want to shift What? And this game becomes a problem. Like, I've spent so much time in this game just chasing after degenerate gamblers so I can collect all of the new shift tokens. And because I'm a competitor. Placed 6th in a horseback riding competition. Only 7 people competed. 7th place was your younger brother. How do you know all of that? Side games like Sabacc are only as strong as the vibes in a game world, and Ubisoft Massive absolutely knocks the vibes out of the park in Star Wars Outlaws. They just know how to make a game world that you want to explore and spend time in. Sabacc in Star Wars Outlaws is just another great excuse to do just that. And yes, there is some luck to the game, but it also requires some skill. And speaking of skill, the skill trees are another area where Ubisoft went rogue. It's a whole new spin on skill progression, and it does its best to make you feel like a true apprentice to all of the masters of the universe. At first glance, it's just a bunch of skill trees, but tiny. Oh, sorry about that, juror number 4.
Quite all right, my good man. You're doing a great job.
In Outlaws, each skill tree is locked behind a specialist you need to find in the open world to unlock said skill tree. And then to unlock specific skills in the skill tree, you need to complete specific tasks. It's like you're actually training to get better, and these objectives are your tests to graduate. It makes skill progression feel that much more organic, and it also doesn't overload you with skill points that you have to use to unlock stuff that really doesn't mean anything to you. There's also a gorgeous open world here. Multiple planets to explore that function as their own separate open worlds. They are all distinct, and there's enough love poured into them to make Yoda cry. Like the Empire's ship that you board early in the main quest. Polished floors, buttons to press in all the right places, tons of stormtroopers you can punch with your bare hands.
Sounds delightful.
It's genuinely breathtaking. Honorable mention should also go to the intel system in Star Wars Outlaws. It's a way of picking up clues that lead to treasure and side quests in the open world. It feels a little bit like Red Dead Redemption, stumbling upon useful information that just feels like it's accidental. And this info helps you progress current quests, but also unlock new ones. Eventually, your map will be filled with all of these magnifying glasses that just beckon you forward to investigate. Ultimately, this is just a small tweak on the typical point of interest system in most open world game maps, but it does something to my brain that just makes it feel more organic, like I'm actually exploring and discovering this world. And while I know the intel system wouldn't be enough to convince someone to play the game on its own, it's a cool system that just keeps me feeling immersed in the game. And of course, the story and characters are a huge factor in how engaged you feel while playing. I've seen enough dialogue online to know that the story of this game is quite polarizing. But if you love heist movies, this game is a no-brainer. It's a rip-roaring heist adventure, and I really loved Kay and Nix also. She's quirky, and Nix is cute as all heck. I love that little rodent. But that's just me. Don't blast me or anything, please. Didn't you see me get killed by that lightsaber? Also, I need to reiterate that the continued support for this game has been a breath of fresh air. Oh, I'll get it. It's great to see Ubisoft continually improve the game, and some of the changes they've rolled out have massively improved it. I actually think there's a case to be made that if you tried it when it first launched and didn't really like it, if you came back now, it is different enough that you might actually end up loving it. But don't hold me to it. I'm a lawyer, not a criminal, gosh darn it. You are not a lawyer. But yeah, if you tried it before and bounced off, try it again. There is a pretty good chance it'll win you over this time. But what about you in particular? Yes, you pretty thing. What's a video like you doing watching a woman like me? If you love Star Wars, or you're craving a unique spin on the Ubisoft open world formula, or you stopped playing the game because of questionable design choices at launch, now is the perfect time to play the game for the first time, or pick it back up after a long time of not playing it. But keep in mind, this is an exploration game first and foremost. It's got a great intel system for discovering new quests on the map, and a richly detailed world that's great to just vibe in, whether that's speeding around on your speeder, or gambling your life savings away at the sabacc table. If you're looking for boundary-pushing combat or an unforgettable story, this probably isn't your stop, and that's totally okay. The combat and story are fun, they're just B-movie fun. So if you're into that, go for it. My closing argument, Your Honor, is as follows. Star Wars Outlaws deserved better reception than what it got. Yes, it had its problems, but it was still a really fun game. Nowadays, with all of the updates that have made it a significantly better game, Star Wars Outlaws deserves another chance. If you're looking for a fresh spin around the Ubi block, give it a try and let me know what you think. I rest my case.
Yay! Nice work.
I hate my job. Oh, and YouTube says you'll love this video, so you might as well click it and see for yourself, right? I love you.